Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Miles, and this is Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. Previously, we launched the second season of MiAI Law here on the show. Laina and I looked beyond proof. We explored how intelligence shapes action, how proof redefines practice, and how the right tools can change the very language of law. But today, we're turning the lens inward because before there was innovation, there were challenges. But this episode goes beneath the success story to the part we rarely actually talk about: the disbelief, the resistance, the pain, the quiet cost of building something new when the world isn't actually or maybe ready for it yet. And of course, that's why we're bringing over again someone who's really an expert at this because she's lived through those storms and turned them into a system of clarity. Here's one of our great sources of insights, the founder and CEO of MyAI Law, Laina Chan. Hi, Laina.
Hi, Miles. How are you?
I'm very well. And I meant that you're really one of our great sources of insights. And especially today that we're going to touch on something unique compared to, I guess, compared to our previous episodes and topics. The word resilience gets used so often that it's almost lost its meaning. And people equate it with toughness or maybe endurance. But having known you for quite a while now, Lena, I know you've lived it very differently from your own experience, both personally and professionally. What do you think is the most misunderstood part of resilience?
Well, I'll just use an example from yesterday. One of my developers had made a mistake, and he always says when he's made a mistake, it's on me, it's on me. And I go, yes, but it's okay to make a mistake.
Mhm.
But what you need to do is you have to look at how that mistake happened and then see what you can learn from it. So you don't have to beat yourself up about it because, everybody makes mistakes. You're young when you just graduated, and you don't have to, it's not like the end of the world if you've made a mistake, but if you don't learn from that mistake and then you make it a second time, and then if you make it a third time, then there is a real problem. I don't know if
That's
you got that. I
uh-huh.
mean, you just really have to, and that's what I have done all my life. The first time I ever failed was I took a driving test when I was 17 and I failed it.
Really?
The driving test, yes, because my
There in
father was,
TV.
yeah, my father was teaching me how to drive, and he didn't teach me any of the road rules.
Okay.
So
So,
when you
okay.
go and do a driving test, I learned then that they're not so much caring whether you can handle the vehicle. They want to know if you can comply with all the road rules. So my driving test was actually a lesson in what all the road rules were.
Uh-huh.
But then my father took it hard that I had failed the driving test because, he saw it as his failure. Well, it was because he didn't teach me the road rules.
Well, what would you expect? Well, resilience, I guess, is more than just resistance. It's more about recovery. It's, I guess, in
It's
your case, like in
recovery.
your example, yeah, recovery, because it's
Yes.
the ability to process it with, like your example, with purpose. You should make sure that you won't do the same mistake over and over again. And of course, we love purpose, right? Also, Lena, you've built something remarkable in my AI law, but I heard the early stages came out with a fair amount of skepticism or maybe fear. We actually touched on that last week, and rejection is an inevitable part of any pioneering path. How did those moments of disbelief or dismissal shape you, not just emotionally, but intellectually? I mean, did they ever influence how you reason or define your vision, especially at my AI law?
No, no,
Mhm.
but it does affect how you get the message out
Mhm. Okay.
because we got a lot of feedback from the users as to what features they wanted. And I developed all these features. One of them already went live, but there's a whole series of other features that are waiting to be developed. But we just have to finish stage one first. We have to get one final plug in our legislation research, it has to retrieve, we just have to make sure it always retrieves the right piece of regulation and extracts the right clauses from it. So that's the final bit. But then after that, we're going to start developing all the additional features that the users gave me. And we know that the users want these features. But then at the same time, I think, especially for lawyers, because of the way they bill, always time billing, that for them, it's a real mindset shift as to whether do you pay the equivalent of 2 hours of your charge out time a month to
Mm-hmm.
save you at least 40 to 50 hours a
Hours.
time.
Mm-hmm.
40 to 50 hours a time, and it costs you 2 hours worth of your time, let's say $1,000, to save $200,000 worth of time. Is that right? 20,000.
Then, mm-hmm.
25. So it's like, do you spend $1,000 to save the equivalent of $25,000 worth of time?
Okay.
But some people are struggling with this, even though that they know it's giving them this additional productivity, but because of the way they charge their clients, a lot of them, well, not a lot, a couple of them have said to me, I'm happy with what I know, and I'm happy with how quickly I'm doing it. Because for them, and they've admitted to me, it's their billing model. They don't want to charge their clients less.
Okay.
So there's a real conflict, isn't there? Because you're
Yeah.
not doing the best by your clients, and you're not even actually doing yourself justice. Because I can say without arrogance that MiAI Law can produce research reports that any human being can in the 3 minute, if the light research takes 1 or 2 minutes, through to the deep case research that takes maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and then legislation can take up to 10 minutes. But the speed is going up all the time, and the time taken is coming down all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's returning outputs so quickly, and it's so precise, and it's so in depth that it's better than any human being can do, definitely in that time. And it's gone through basically the whole database of cases to make sure it's found you the cases on point. So, but then there's a little bit of resistance to it because of I think there's three things. One, the human being is struggling to believe that a machine can do better than them.
Okay.
Two, they don't like the fact that yes, it saves them time, but in the bottom line of what they charge the client, it could put them off in a worse off position.
Okay.
And then thirdly, I don't really know. I don't really know.
We can
But
take out
then
the third one.
I don't really know. But the really savvy, the ones who are really focused on their clients, and the ones who really want to do the best thing by their clients, and the ones who want to ensure that they have mastery of the subject,
Mhm.
they're embracing it.
Yeah, and
And then
sometimes,
Mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
Then there's also really savvy little law firms who say, right, we've got this tool now. I can now do contract review so much faster than I can do before. I'm just trying to work out how to monetize this because, one firm said to me, actually more than one, have said to me, obviously a human being can't do it this quickly and be as exhaustive. And one of them said to me, it's actually doing 80% of my job for me in 4 minutes or
Mm.
less. And then, I've just, and the contract review market has really been taken away from the lawyers, but I'm trying to work out how I could take this to a client and say, I can now do contract reviews for you at X dollars, but so long as you give me every single one of your contract reviews for the year. So there's some people who are being really innovative, and that's also part of what MiAI Law can help you do because it can help you make unprofitable work profitable.
Profitable. Yeah. Mhm.
So you have to think outside the, oh no, I can't, I'm going to how will this really help me in the long run? Yes, sure, I can serve my client better and I can do it faster and I'll have a deeper understanding of the law.
Mm-hmm.
But this could just lead to me billing the client less, and I don't want that. But it's not actually like that, because I've been giving legal advice to people. Obviously, I'm a lawyer, and I'm using my AI law. But it's not just one question. You have to keep asking it, and then you have to check the answers, and you have to check and follow through the research reports, and it just gives you such a deeper understanding of the law that even when I've written the textbook on contract and the Australian consumer law, and I know the general principles, and I've got my textbook, but then I also use it to ask the questions on my AI law, and it just gives you a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use it and you cross-check it against your knowledge, so that then when you
Yeah.
go back to the client and you give your advice, you just feel much more confident.
Mm-hmm. And it makes
And
you remember the stuff that you forget that you've already forgotten.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's
And
right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so then you just feel that you have done the best by your client. And yesterday I was doing this, and it ended up taking me, maybe it would have taken me, I already know the law, right? Because I wrote the textbook, but even I needed to refresh to see what new cases had come out and how these things had been, these sections, provisions in the Australian consumer law had been applied. And it just did it very quickly. And I was able to follow it through. And at the end of the day, when I gave the advice, I felt like I had gotten it right, that I hadn't left any stone unturned. And it
Uh-huh.
just makes me feel a lot calmer.
Yes, of
Because advice
course.
work, yeah, because
Mhm.
advice work is the most dangerous work anyway, because it's the one that you're not protected with from being sued on. So it's nice
Yeah.
to know. Litigation
Ironically.
is like anything you do in connection with going to court, etc., that all that judgment is protected. But advice work is not. And I just feel a lot more comfortable that
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to do that. And so what I end up doing by using my AI law is end up looking at much more cases than I would have had the capacity to look at to provide the client with the advice.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that also reflects back what matters most and clarifies the why behind someone's work. In this case, my I lost deliverables. So let's take that one step further, Lena. And this is what I'm really curious about. Do you believe there's such a thing as ethical failure? I mean, the kind of setback that, while painful, actually teaches integrity. Moments that, those moments that clarify who you are and what you stand for.
Well, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I've had to do an ethics exam, whether it was at the College of Law or whether I've always gotten a high distinction.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I've always been very conscious of the line between what is right and what is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I've observed other people have ethical failures a lot over the years. And, there have been times when I could have just done what the client wanted me to do and kept the brief, towed the line, but it would have felt wrong or to have done that because, they, I'm not going to give specific examples, but there have been examples when they want me to just say what, suited, say what would have suited them, the client to hear, or do
What they need to
things
hear.
that I knew was just not correct.
Uh-huh.
They're in law, not in law, obviously. Everything has to be relative to the law. So they want me to advocate for a position that I just knew didn't really cut it. And I have chosen at those times to not do that. And then knowing that that would mean that I would lose the brief. But I just feel better doing that. It doesn't, I mean, other people might be okay with it, but it's not okay for me because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. And I don't think you should be pursuing short-term gain.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will ultimately lead to long-term failure.
Like reframing it as a kind of audit. If I'm making
Yeah.
sense. Mm-hmm. It has
But
the
it's so easy to get swept along, right? You can just say, because I've done a lot of professional negligence matters and all those Ponzi schemes where the financial advisors, they're promising their clients certain return, right?
so
And
much
then
sometimes.
they don't start off as dishonest. And in the beginning, they're making the returns for their clients, and then ultimately they can't live up to their promises. And
Mm-hmm.
so they start stealing from the new clients to pay the old clients because they don't want to come clean
Mm-hmm.
that they can't deliver on their promises, but ultimately that just leads to long-term failure.
Yeah. Testing the alignment between ambition and values. And it reveals whether success is being pursued for the right reasons. And I remember someone said to me that courage without caution can burn you out faster than it builds you up. So, what's your take on this, Lena? How do you personally balance the drive to prove yourself or prove your ideas with the need to protect yourself, your product, and your team, especially as someone leading both people and change tech?
I think you have to be very clear what your core mission is.
I'm
I
sorry.
think you have identified that. And one way of doing that is actually to prepare all those investor decks.
Mm-hmm.
And then by preparing the investor decks, you have to have worked out what your core mission is and what it is you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. And
Right.
you have to really spend a lot of time doing that. And then that core mission has to be very, very clear. And, we've spent tens and tens and tens and tens of hours working on those investor decks, and in doing so, I think really I've defined what is important to me. And because we haven't taken much investment at all, we haven't needed to,
Okay.
been able to remain pure to our mission. And then sometimes, and then I think also you have to have someone that you can talk to keep you focused on your true path.
Mhm. In this case.
Yeah, for me, it's my husband. That's
Yeah.
right. And so that when you feel that
That's great.
yeah, no, but when you feel that you are not achieving your goal or then you talk to him all through my career.
Uh-huh.
And then he just reminds you on what your core mission is and your core purpose is.
Yeah, like he puts you back in the center.
Yes, because it's very easy to get lost, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
And
it's very easy to think we're in this for the money. For me, I'm not really in this for the money. And it just really annoys me sometimes when people just keep talking about the money.
yeah,
Because I understand that money is the measure of success, because if you don't have revenue, that means you don't have product market fit. So
yeah.
you do have to look at the revenue, but the revenue is a signal as to whether you have product market fit, right? And that you're
Mhm.
getting your message out. But you don't want to be motivated. I don't want to be just motivated by the money, because I did my Hogan certification, which is what companies, etc., use when they're hiring people. They
Yeah.
all make them do the Hogan certification test. And
Uh-huh.
I did mine, and Arjun did his.
Mm-hmm.
And then it showed that for us, the most important thing
Mm-hmm.
was mastery of our subject matter. For us, both of that was just science, and mastery was like totally the most important thing. And that revenue was only important in business, not so much in our personal life, but for doing anyway, in business, because it's just a measure of whether you've got product market fit.
Yeah.
We're
And
not
that
really, yeah.
yeah, the Hogan test. I think you mentioned that in one of our episodes. And
Oh,
that self-preservation, Lena, is a really great resource. I mean, protecting your peace also is how you sustain power, not just all about money. And I agree with you. So, can we close this on a more personal note, Lena? For someone tuning in right now, someone in their own proof and pain phase, trying to hold faith, while the world feels unconvinced, I feel like there's a lot of them. What would you tell them?
What would I tell? I'm in my own proof and pain phase.
At least it's not obvious.
Well, I think you have to listen to the signals
Okay.
because because you know, I have failed over the years and you learn from your failures. And then when I went and did the leadership course at Harvard Business School, we did the True North. We had to work through this book, and everyone in my living group had to share all these painful, defining stories about themselves. And it's called the crucible because it's from those mistakes and failures that your character is forged. So if you don't have these failures, you don't have these hiccups, you don't have these road bumps, and you've just sailed through life
Mm-hmm.
smoothly, then you don't know what's going to happen to you once you hit a road bump. And I remember people telling me that there were partners of big law firms who had made partner really, really quickly in 8 years, 9 years, whatever. And because it was the boom and they just had made heaps of money for the firm. But
Mm-hmm.
then the moment the market downturned, etc., they floundered because they had never known what it was like to have to forge your path through adversity. And that is what resilience is. But it doesn't mean that you keep pushing through. Sometimes you also have to listen and take the signal that maybe this is not the right path for you. So you have to be flexible as well, and then think, well, do I have to pivot a bit? Do I have to redefine where I'm going? Because it's not much good just saying, I'm just going to keep on going. I'm just going to keep on going, because you could be trying to, for example, if you're building a product, you really could be building a product that nobody wants at all. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not much good saying, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Like
it's
you
a
will never
two-way thing,
stop.
right? So I think it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, that
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn from your mistakes. You have to listen to the world. You have to listen to what the world is saying to you. But then the difficulty is working out what you take on and what you disregard, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree completely. And I like the humbleness and transparency, Lena. And that's deeply moving and very, very real. I think that's what people need to hear. That what feels like friction is often the start of transformation. I've seen that with you. And so thank you so much for sharing that so candidly. This episode strip away the myth of success. It's not all about the money. And thank you for reminding us that courage is not actually born from triumph. It's really fine through persistence, never stopping. Be true to your goal or to your
And
vision.
you might have a mission in life.
Mm,
I'll tell you one last story. So I used to say, when I was just a barrister, before I started doing
yeah.
this, that I couldn't retire until I was 75 or 80 or 75 or 80, because I've been at the bar for 20 years and I haven't achieved that one thing. I just always
Uh-huh.
felt there was something I needed to do. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I hadn't done it.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my God, I need another at least 20 years to do this. I don't know what it is, but I know there's something
There's
in me that I
something.
need to do. I don't know what it is. And it's already been 20 years at the bar and I still haven't achieved it. I'm going to need at least another 20 years. And then, then now that I've built this, I realize that this is it, right? This is what I needed to do. And I no longer feel I need to work for another 20 years to do whatever it is I felt I needed to do. I just
Yeah.
know that I need another 2 years to deliver all the features that we want to deliver, and another 2 years to build out the rest of the jurisdictions and to build out the features, and then to spread the word and get it out in the world. So it's funny, right? Sometimes you can just
Yeah.
know that within you, there is something that you need to do. I asked some of my friends and I said, do you feel that? And they go, no. I said, but within me, I always felt there was something.
Yeah.
Just was.
I mean, it's
So
really
you have
different
to
when you
pivot.
claim, when you claim it, that
Well,
there's
you have to
something.
pivot because I didn't know what it was. So over the years, I might have been mistaken in thinking, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But but it wasn't any of those things because I didn't know what it was. I just didn't know. All I did know was that what I loved the most was researching and writing
Mhm.
and publishing. And that when I did all those things, that I would just be lost in a zone, in a flow whenever I
Yeah.
did that. And that's the same now when I'm coding or whatever I'm doing to
Yeah.
deliver our features.
Yes. And that's the proof, which validates your ideas. But on the other end, pain, as my dad used to tell us, it validates our character. You said that, kind of said that earlier too. And when both coexist, that's when growth becomes wisdom and, turns into a product like yours, like my AI law. So thank you so much again, Lena. What a conversation.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for joining this episode with Lena. Stay tuned next week as we continue exploring how intelligence, both human and artificial, is shaping not just the future of law, but the future of thought. I'm your host, Miles, reminding you to stay focused and inspired with Xraised.